Joshua Williamson, Brian Michael Bendis, Jeff Johns, and countless other writers and artists from DC Comics come together to refresh the DC universe as new heroes emerge in the wake of death metal and future state. Old heroes return and threats from beyond the known multiverse make their presence felt. Headlined by Joshua Williamson, Infinite Frontier does a stellar job setting up many of the upcoming slates of DC Comics, showing us little snippets of what our favourite heroes are up to post-death metal and what their stories could contain. I really enjoyed all of the little teasers each creative team had for their upcoming books, all of which have stories that just look like they are going to be lots of fun to explore and just exude positivity. Embracing change and being positive of the future is a big part of this new multiverse, and Williamson sells it so well with his Spectre and Wonder Woman wraparound story, which invokes a lot of A Christmas Carol, with both beings kind of acting as the Ghost of Christmas Past and Scrooge stand-ins. The ending of the issue was one of those legitimate holy shit moments that I cannot wait to see explored throughout the year, and if it's anything like this issue was, we are in for a treat. The book featured artwork from all of the top talent currently working at DC Comics, from John Timms, Stephen Byrne, and Todd Nook, who makes his return to DC Comics after a long while with Jeff Johns' Stargirl story in wonderful, great fashion. The wraparound story art by John Timms was definitely a highlight of the book, and as usual, his artwork was colourful and bold. Stephen Byrne also brought his clean, modern look to Alan Scott, drawing some really fantastic pages featuring the character as well as the JSA, all who have slightly updated costumes, though not too updated that they would stand out as much. All in all, the artwork really helps sell the positive, fresher, newer feel the DC Universe is going for right now with Infinite Frontier, and it all just works so well. Infinite Frontier Issue 0 began a new chapter in the DC universe, giving us a good taste of much of what's to come in the first year of this new, refreshed universe. I love the positivity and hopeful nature that carried on over from Wonder Woman's role in death metal and what this universe was born out of, and it's felt through pretty much all of the stories here, especially the ones featuring characters that I think people are going to want to see more of, like Wally West. A lot of the things teased here by Williamson, Johns, Johnson, and Cloonan were things we could see coming or were built off things we saw in Future State, but the book still managed to surprise me with a few great inclusions, especially the hints at the larger story at play that I cannot wait for Joshua Williamson to pay off, since he seems to be the captain of this ship and the one orchestrating this new back-to-form version of DC Comics. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Infinite Frontier Issue 0 sees reality change again thanks to Wonder Woman, who has ascended to a godlike being within the fabric of reality, witnessing the birth of an infinite frontier. A voice asks how she's adjusting to her new, grander perspective, but it's just the beginning of everything, as Wonder Woman is confronted by the Quintessence, who know there are now no boundaries between the 52 universes, which are now like a great Omniverse, and a bright day of peace and infinite possibilities is upon them all because of Wonder Woman's actions against the Batman Who Laughs and Perpetua. Diana wonders why she is there since she was meant to ascend, but saw the future instead. Spectre says that she saw possible futures and now it falls on humanity to decide its fate, so thanks to her newfound role, judged by the hands of the Source themselves, he asks her to join the Quintessence, and she is asked to assist them in chronicling the new order of things. Diana knows that this sounds a little too good to be true, especially after knowing of the great cost restarting the multiverse would bring. The beings know of no cost or lurking threat, but they don't offer her place with them lightly. Diana refuses to leave her friends and family behind until she knows that they are safe and wants to know the truth. The Quintessence insist that there is no great cost, but they will send Spectre with her to guide her through these times. Spectre says that they will move like ghosts and witness moments as they search for the cost that haunts Wonder Woman. The heroes head into the multiverse as on Earth, Superman responds to an incident in Egypt, where he finds the villain who attacked the people frozen in stone. The people say that the being who helped them was named Shazam, making Superman think that maybe Shazam was there. The people say it wasn't him, and when attacked by the fire god, a being with a lightning bolt on his chest came to help. Superman still thinks that sounds like Shazam, as the people show him pictures of Black Adam fighting the fire god. The people say that the being is strong and quiet and helps and then leaves, much like Superman. Flash arrives, surprised that Superman beat him there and saved the day already, but Superman says that this was Black Adam's doing. Flash thinks that this was some villain team up gone wrong, but Clark wonders if maybe Adam wants to turn over a new leaf and become a hero. Barry knows that he thinks that about everyone, and Superman reminds him that he hopes that about everyone. Diana views Clark's optimism from above, knowing of course he sees the potential for good even in his enemies, but Spectre knows that Batman doesn't share that optimism. In Gotham City, Arkham Asylum guard Mahoney does his rounds in the madhouse as a voice says that a city is broken and the people are broken, and their most critical goal now is to show them the truth of what they really are. Mahoney goes in to check on Bane, finding the cell filled with a green gas as well as a dead guard. He thinks Bane did it, moving in to secure the inmate, but upon removing his mask, he finds Bane has been murdered. Mahoney calls in a code green, meaning Joker has attacked the asylum, but most of the asylum's security is already dead thanks to the gas. Elsewhere, the Batgirls fight through some goons as Oracle coordinates with them. Barbara talks with Huntress as she signals the Batgirls, asks how she feels about being Oracle again. Barbara says that it feels good and there was a part of her that felt like she couldn't be everywhere she wanted to be in the costume, but now in the chair she can. She says she hasn't hung up her costume for good though, but it will be more judicious with her use of it since she wants to give her spinal implant a rest. Suddenly the women hear the code green from the asylum coming through, worrying Barbara as elsewhere, Tim plays chess with his father, telling him he didn't come to the city for a lecture. Lucius apologizes to his son, but Tim reminds his father to call him Jace now, as his father tells him that thanks to their newfound wealth, there is a certain responsibility that comes with it. Jace knows that the city isn't ready for this kind of change it needs, but Lucius says that's what he's saying since maybe the Fox family can help make it ready. Grifter bursts into the room, alerting the family to the code green at Arkham and that the Joker has attacked again. At City Hall, Mayor Chris Nakano is filled in on the situation by Commissioner Montoya, who knows there is a chance that Joker is using the expectations of his attack as an advantage, but they don't know anything that's going on inside the prison since her own men that Gordon embedded in the asylum a long time ago aren't answering. Nakano wants the full force of the GCPD to descend on the asylum, knowing that there is a guard that is still left alive in there, so they need to get him on the line to find out the situation. Mahoney meanwhile rushes through the gas-filled asylum, told to stay on the line by Batman, who races across the city to the asylum. Diana meanwhile is pulled elsewhere to Themyscira, where she sees her mother mourning the loss of her daughter. She sees something is bothering Hippolyta, knowing the gods won't answer her prayers and she feels abandoned. Diana wishes that she could talk with her mother, and when she finally ascends, she intends to let her know herself, but Spectre thinks doing so will rob Hippolyta of the understanding that comes with reflection on mourning. He says Diana remains tethered to her old life, but Diana cuts him off when she hears a noise outside of Hippolyta's chambers. Outside the chambers, the Amazonians are battling one another as Hippolyta demands to know what foolishness has befallen them. The women say that they are fighting to learn who is the strongest of them and who will take the mantle of Wonder Woman. Hippolyta says that Diana was singular and yet they rush to replace her, wondering who would risk joining Diana in eternal silence to prove worthy. All of the women are quick to raise their hands, but Hippolyta tells them to fix her chamber walls as Diana knows even in grief, her mother is still a real drill sergeant. Hippolyta takes the women into her chambers to see the head of the Gorgon Medusa, saying that only those whose hearts are just and their minds not clouded by ambition will survive its stony gaze. Some of the warriors leave in fear, leaving only Nubia left to face the Medusa's head alone. She hopes that if she's turned into a statue, the birds are kept from her as she opens the box, not finding a head but a queen's tiara. Hippolyta says that this is her fate now as she renounces her queen status to enter the world of men. Nubia isn't so sure about this, and this is still much they don't know. Like the Amazonian from Brazil. Hippolyta intends on finding out what Yara Flor is up to, but the Amazonians need a queen now, and that is to be Nubia, since she has the wisdom and temperament and no doubt in herself. Nubia says that she'll do her best, as Hippolyta reassures her that nothing is going to happen to her in man's world. As they head outside, Nubia asks if they really do have a Medusa's head, learning that Hippolyta does indeed have one, but it's being kept safely hidden. Outside, Hippolyta introduces the new queen of the Amazons to her cheering people. Elsewhere, Yara Flor signs with her auntie that she is going back to Brazil whether her auntie likes it or not. Her auntie signs that they left for a good reason and it's too dangerous, as her uncle tells them to stop fighting so they can take a picture of Yara's big day. The women pose for a photo in the Boise airport terminal, but still, Yara's auntie is upset. Yara says goodbye to her uncle Brian, hoping that he would tell Aunt Renata that she loves her, heading into the airport as a group of Amazonians continue to track the woman. Diana is soon taken to New York, where Obsidian looks over the empty JSA headquarters, remembering his father's oath of when he was part of the JSA all those years ago, and then later how he and his sister joined Infinity Inc., learning just who their long-lost father really was. Jade and Obsidian meet with Alan, who says that he's walked the earth longer than he anticipated, and he's been fighting too long that he's beginning to neglect a lot of himself. Jade thinks that he means them, but he can't blame himself for not being there for them, since he wasn't made aware he had children until they were adults. Alan knows it's more than that as he gets teary-eyed, asking his son if it's always this awkward to say. Todd says it is, but it gets better afterwards. Alan reveals that back in an earlier time, he had to keep part of himself hidden from friends and family, even going so far as to marry a couple of women, whom he knows he loved in his mind, but he knows in doing so he was hiding himself away. Todd tells him just to say the words, since they both love him, so he can say them. Alan Scott reveals to his children that he is gay, garnering a hug from Jade as he says that there have been a few people throughout the years who have known, but now some of the greatest minds of the world are looking at the frontier again, and they have asked him to become a sentinel overlooking the totality of the world, and because of it, he didn't think it would be right to take the job without finally being the whole person he is with his friends and family. He knows he stands to learn a lot from a new generation of ring slingers, hugging his family, and knows that there is no fear now. Elsewhere in New York, a ferry gets ready to depart as Diana is shown a new generation of heroes hungry for experience. At the terminal, a young boy buys a Titans-themed backpack, telling the seller that the transaction never happened. Boarding the boat with the various other kids with the same backpack, the ferry takes them all to their first day at school in Titans Academy, where one of the children pulls a Red X mask from his backpack. Diana is whisked away to Metropolis, where a monster is rampaging through the streets. Spectre says that this is where the darkness she seeks is, and Diana thinks she means the creature, but Spectre is referring to Jonathan Kent. Spectre says that John Kent isn't Superman like Diana thinks he is and never must be. Spectre explains that the alien he fights is an Imperial Maw, and it uses space and time as its weapons, and while he knows not how the creature came to be there, the son of Superman is no equal to it. Spectre knows that John will never be near enough to the creature to harm it, since his strength and speed are meaningless to the creature. Spectre says while he has his father's physical gifts, that will never make him Superman. Diana tells him to see beyond the physical as Superboy races into the creature's maw, where space and time bend around him. Spectre says that this is the boy's end, and while Clark was born on another planet, he was of this time, but Jonathan Kent is of no place and no time. Jonathan experiences many of the points of his life as he journeys through the maw, as Spectre knows that he's lost years in space with a madman and was imprisoned by a broken version of his own father, only coming of age 1,000 years after his birth, only to return to the present and be given a title he can never fully earn, and while he still tries, he has the makings of a tyrant. Suddenly, Spectre doesn't understand what the boy is doing as John exits the maw, finding a small baby version of the Imperial Maw. As Diana says, he's showing both wisdom and compassion. Diana explains that using the Maw's own power, John searched through space and time until he found the being when it was newly lost and alone and hopeless, and returned it to its rightful place on its homeworld. Diana says that out of compassion, Superman risked his own life for an enemy's sake, and what's a more truer test of a Superman than that? Spectre relents, saying that he is Superman for now, but warns her that this one is still lost, and Earth will pay the price one day. The heroes move to another part of the world where Oliver Queen and Diana Drake have rekindled their love. They talk about their lost memories seeping back to them, just like Mr. Terrific said they would. Diana hates all of this cosmic junk, as Oliver reminds her he's now richer than Batman, but Diana never cared for the money, and if she did, she'd be calling herself Bat Canary. Oliver's phone rings and soon hangs up, making Oliver wonder if he can track it, since it came from an old Q phone, making him wonder who would do that. Diana doesn't care, wanting to leave all of this cosmic stuff to the Justice League, but Oliver has some interesting news regarding that. At a gas station in the middle of nowhere, the very much alive Roy Harper decides on who to call and let know he's alive, knowing it's still a bit too early for that. He dumps his phone and trucker cap, taking his leave for the road as he spots a red bow and arrow set nearby, making him chuckle. Spectre Spectre asks if Dinah has seen any cost yet, but the woman hasn't, wanting to look in places they least suspect. In Blue Valley, Stargirl battles King Midas at the local bank, knowing she's running extremely late for school. She tells the villain to surrender, but Midas exclaims that he never will, knowing the hero will make a glorious piece of art once he's finished with her. Pat, however, soon arrives in the stripe armor, smashing the villain into the ground, defeating him once and for all. Courtney remembers when Pat went by Stripesy and he was part of the 7 Soldiers of Victory way back when. She knows exactly what Pat is going to tell her, knowing he's going to say that she should have waited for him and now she's late for school. Boarding the armor, Pat flies the girl across Blue Valley to school, as Courtney knows how all this joyriding soon became a purpose for her, and with Pat, she found someone who was there for her when her father wasn't. Courtney rushes into school where she is stopped by the principal, who is upset she is late yet again. Luckily, Pat arrives, saying that his old car broke down and he convinced Courtney to stick around and wait for her mother. He reminds Courtney that she forgot her lunch, handing her a brown paper bag as the girl plays it off, causing the principal to let her off. Courtney thanks Pat for being there twice that day as the man's phone rings. Answering it, he finds Vigilante on the other end, telling him the 7 soldiers need him as he hangs up. Courtney asks who that was, and Pat knows that it's a reason to ditch school. Spectre feels them being pulled backwards as back in Gotham, Batman gets Mahoney to continue to talk to him, telling him it's going to be okay as he reaches the central security. Mahoney finds there is no sign of a mass breakout and everything and anything is still in their cells. Batman knows they need to get the toxin out of the asylum, wanting to use the special fire system that was installed to prevent Mr. Freeze from escaping. Mahoney activates it but finds that there are some nurses holed up in a storage room using oxygen tanks to live, meaning when the fire superheats the air, it will kill them. Batman races towards the prison on his bike as a voice says the heroes have been trying to hold the city together for so long they've hardly noticed how much it's changed around them. But if they are going to have any hope to survive, they need to let the fear in and need to face it and learn that they aren't in control anymore. Ghostmaker Mimo deals with some ninjas as Nightwing faces a group of thugs who have been hurting a defenseless puppy, and Punchline still finds herself incarcerated in jail. The voice continues, saying that these people are going to change and evolve as Mahoney races to the storage room, grabbing the nurses as the fire starts, blowing him and the nurses clear of the building. Batman pulls up as the asylum explodes, finding the grievously injured Mahoney outside. The man asks if the women are safe, and he finds that the nurses are indeed in safe hands as he falls asleep in Batman's arms. The police arrive, saying that Batman is under arrest since Mayor Nakano wants no more masks in Gotham City. Batman ignores the men, looking over the burning asylum and finding life readings, discovering there are 17 people still left alive. The cops are shocked to learn that there are only 17 left in the whole asylum as Batman tells them to fire if they want to, but he is going to go in and save those people. Elsewhere at Saint Industries, Simon Saint asks the doctor what his final diagnosis of the people of Gotham City is, asking if they really think they are ready for what the Magistrate program has to offer them, and if they finally are scared enough to change. Scarecrow doesn't think they are nearly scared enough, but they will be. Dinah thinks that this is the darkness, but Spectre knows they must let this play out as they are drawn to heroes who shine lights on fear. In hyperspace, Jon Stewart and Simon Baz talk about the Guardians splitting up Simon and Jessica, with Simon wondering why he's now on babysit duty, slowly creeping along in a spaceship instead of using the rings. Jon knows that this is because Kelly is important and the ship is to keep her comfortable while she looks over the history of the Green Lantern Corps. Kelly meanwhile is still in the virtual reality world, where she learns all of the Green Lantern's history from the Guardians' holograms. Simon wonders what her deal is, but Jon doesn't know, knowing the Guardians want to see her and the powerful gauntlet she somehow has stuck to her hand. Jon says that the galaxy is coming together as the United Planets and nobody knows where the Guardians stand in all of this, so they need to show strength and stability during the conclave, so it's all hands on deck. Simon knows that Hal, Jess and Kyle got hall passes, but Jon knows they are busy protecting the Crux worlds. The ship soon drops from hyperspace, so Jon tells Kelly that she won't want to miss this as the girl comes to the cockpit to witness all of the United Planet ships dropping out of hyperspace around Oa, as Jon welcomes the girl to the home of the Green Lantern Corps. Spectre knows that Ganthet would know if there was a coming darkness there, so they head elsewhere, where Diana sees Barry Allen, knowing he's more than the hope the Spectre sees, knowing recently he found a path to move forward. Flash finishes up his vibrational frequency test and heads to the House of Heroes, where he tells President Superman that Earth Zero looks stable for now, and his look into the vibrational frequencies match Calvin's readings. Calvin notes highlights how many of the worlds have returned to where they were, but a few have had their histories restarted, and with Barry's work they should be able to keep track of the growing numbers of multiverses, especially with the joint communications between their worlds. He wonders if Barry has considered his offer, and Barry knows he needs to take care of a few things first. Barry goes to meet with Wally on the Totality, who says he's just got done dealing with Kilgore, who was trying to take over the internet again. He knows Barry was talking with President Superman, and Barry reveals that that's why he called Wally there, since he's been working with Justice Incarnate observing the new multiverse, and with this comes new challenges. Therefore, he's been offered a place on Justice Incarnate to be their Earth's representative. Wally wonders about Central City and the Justice League and who will be Flash, so Barry tells Wally that he is the Flash now, and when he was gone before, Wally filled his boots well and did him proud, and he wouldn't go running off if he didn't think the boy was up for the task. Wally is honoured as Barry knows that coming back was hard for the boy and he's still worried about redeeming himself, but he wants him to trust him. Barry and Wally race off back home to Central City to talk out the details as Spectre sees the torch has been passed and thinks that this could be the cost Wonder Woman was talking about, but Diana says that this is a good thing, admiring the two Flashes' bravery as they run into new chapters of their lives no matter how scary or unknown it is. Spectre wonders if Diana is ready herself, and how does she judge what she has seen. Diana says that for years their lives were infected with despair, as a force from another universe manipulated their lives for some experiment, stealing so much from them, but now she can see that influence is gone and they are free to embrace the best parts of themselves and move forward into exciting new chapters of their lives, which come with wonder and terror. But these fears are always with them, and perhaps the cost she was warned about is the past they must leave behind. But her friends are up to the task since they can now take on any darkness. Spectre says that there are other places they can look, but Diana wants to go back to the Quintessence. Heading back to the beings, Diana is asked if she again wants to join them, and she has an answer, having faith her friends and family can take care of themselves. She, however, declines the offer, knowing now anything is possible, but the Quintessence wants her to stay still and just watch it all. She says Spectre showed her the brave people embracing change, and it reminded her of how Steve Trevor washed up on the shores of Themyscira, and where instead of sending him back alone to man's world, she travelled with him and begun a new chapter in her life, one greater than she could ever think of, and now she finds herself on a different shore, and it's time for her to set sail into the infinite frontier. Later on, the Quintessence talk about Diana not joining them, knowing had she, they would have told her that they had already trapped the threat she was worried about. The wizard knows that had she joined, she would have learned that there is nothing they cannot control or defeat. The beings descend onto Earth Omega, which will be used to house the darkness. The darkness, however, tells them all to die as it kills the entire Quintessence. The voice says that Wonder Woman and her kind believe this will be a new beginning, but it will bring them closer to the finale, and it always leads back to him. The being says that now they have reconstituted all of their lesser forms, and he has finally achieved his true form, and his power exceeds what it was before the first crisis. The being stomps on Spectre, destroying him as Darkseid says he is finite, he is final, and he is the end of everything.